Perfect. Okay. Thank you all for joining us today. Our session is titled, do you need help? Sorry, we just came in from the car right away, and then we didn't have a chance to grab water or anything, so. Okay, our session is the retrospect of the Golden Globe Awards, where we're gonna look a step back in time, look at the history of the Golden Globes and how they've evolved to what we know today. My name is Lemon Hemoy, and I'll be your moderator for this session. We're in store for a very, very insightful discussion. Of course, joining me on stage is Helen Hohen, the president of the Golden Globes. Helen, how are you?
Thank you very well. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. I know you just got off the flight and then onto the car, and it's been back to back, so I really appreciate you joining us on this discussion. To start things off, I want to ask you, what has been your experience so far in Saudi Arabia?
Well, I just arrived last night, so I am slightly jet-lagged. If I don't make any sense, please forgive me. My experience so far has been absolutely wonderful. The moment I stepped off the plane, everyone has been incredibly welcoming, and the hospitality is just amazing. And I'm so happy to be here. I'm excited to see more of the city since it's my first time in Saudi Arabia.
For those of you that don't know, Helen leads one of the world's most recognizable entertainment awards and has overseen its recent restructuring, resulting in substantial growth in size, diversity, and global engagement. Helen, I want to ask you, let's take a step back in time and talk about your career. We're both journalists. You come from a very extensive background in media and journalism. Can you walk us through your journey and how you made your way to become the president of the Golden Globes?
Yeah, I really started out as a journalist. I was a journalist for over 20 years. I worked for print media and then also for broadcast journalism. And through broadcast journalism, actually, I got to the Golden Globes. I met someone who was a member of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, the group, that's what it was called back then, and they told me about the group, and they said, this is really a group of international journalists who are giving out the Golden Globe Awards, and would you like to become a member? And I was, of course, very interested. I had been a film lover and a TV lover for a very long time. And so then I became a member of that group. And that's really how I got to know the awards scene, and the film industry. So it took me some time before I became the president, because I learned a lot. And then I really took the presidency just a few years ago, when I really started with the restructuring of the Golden Globes.
I want to ask you, this is just out of my curiosity, when you initially joined the Golden Globes, how did you view it then, and how do you view it now as president?
Well, I joined, and I thought, I thought it really needed to change. It was an organization that was. The Globes had existed for 80, a few less, but almost 80 years. It had really never changed. The size, the voting members were already, when I joined, there was about 80 people voting for the Golden Globes, and I always thought that's an incredibly small number for an awards body. But, the organization was run by a group of people that were very stuck in their ways and didn't really want to change, and so it took some time to implement those changes and convince everyone.
It took someone like you to come and diversify it and come and change the perspective of it. When we look back in time, obviously the Golden Globes started in 1944. How have they evolved from then to what we know as the Golden Globes now?
Yeah, so they were founded in 1944 during World War II, which was really a time of global conflict, and I think the reason why all these journalists wanted to come together and build this group was to bring some hope to a world that was obviously suffering, and to talk about entertainment, because what better way to give people hope than to bring some entertainment news to them. And so it really started out of that, and it was, again, a bunch of international journalists in Hollywood bringing those news back to the rest of the world.
And we are in Saudi Arabia, so I have to ask you, what do you think of the Saudi film industry?
Well, the Saudi film industry, I think, is probably one of the most promising and exciting ones out there because it's new. And anything that is new has so much potential. So I'm very excited. I'm excited about the films that I saw. I'm excited about the filmmakers that I get to meet. I went to the Cannes Film Festival. The Red Sea Film Foundation supported, I think, 4 or 5 films at the Cannes Film Festival. And I think that's remarkable. So there's just so much potential, and I'm excited to see what we can do.
It's true. I've met so many brilliant, I don't work mainly in film, but I've met so many brilliant filmmakers in Saudi Arabia. Even in the Cannes Film Festival, we talked about this. If you have a moment afterwards, I want to take you around. I want you to look at the different booths, the different filmmakers and producers that are here regionally, because sitting down with them and hearing their stories is truly so inspiring. So it's something you have to do, hopefully. I want to ask you, let's talk about the impact of a Golden Globe. We obviously know it's one of the most prestigious awards in film that anyone can achieve. I want to ask you, how do you believe that a Golden Globe award or win can transform the professional landscape for filmmakers and actors, both in terms of immediate opportunities and future opportunities?
Yeah, I mean, besides obviously the financial success behind winning a Golden Globe, I think there's so much potential for your career because you really, a Golden Globe means that you get this, recognition worldwide. And I think that access to the rest of the world opens doors. The Golden Globes, this year alone, the Golden Globes were viewed by 10 million viewers in the US. But what was actually more interesting was that we were viewed in 185 territories worldwide. So that tells you the global impact of the Golden Globe. So if you do win a Golden Globe, other countries certainly, will become aware of you and about what you can do. And there are so many projects now launched all over the world. And so I think the access you have, it really opens doors and access for you.
We spoke about it, the impact it has even on countries. If you see a filmmaker or producer win and get an award, it's almost like the whole country feels a sense of pride and uplifts the whole community as well. So it's really beautiful to see. How do you believe the Golden Globes have influenced cultural conversations around film and television throughout their history?
We've always had what I love about the Golden Globes, they've always had milestones and important steps in its history. We started out with, Barbra Streisand winning as Best Director in 1984 for Yentl. I don't think a woman had been nominated as a Best Director before. Then we had a film like La La Land, won in 2016, won 7 Golden Globes. That film had such a huge impact on the industry. And we had other amazing milestones. Really going back now, Omar Sharif was in 1963 and 1966, won for Lawrence of Arabia and Dr. Zhivago, first Muslim and Egyptian actor to win a Golden Globe 3 years apart. I think those are all things that really set the Globes apart from the rest of the award shows because we have recognized new global talent and we've always seen something special in all of these actors, directors.
Let's jump to the topic of diversity and inclusion. That's obviously one of the missions that you have as the president of the Golden Globes, and it's also a personal passion of yours, I can tell. Given the international nature of the Golden Globes, how has the inclusion of global cinema influenced the awards and their categories?
Yeah, we've had talent, just as an example, Guillermo del Toro won twice. I don't think anyone thought of, a Mexican director winning, or he sort of, that became a platform for him. We had, last year, we had Stephen Yeun win as the first Asian American. He won as Best Actor for Beef. So for us, we've always looked at international talent. This is what actually is so special about the Golden Globes, because our voters come from 85 different countries. We have over 330 voters now. We're still expanding. I hope to, have more voters by next year. And these voters all come from different cultures, different background. They speak multiple languages, and they really watch content from all over the world.
And when we spoke about voters on the way here, we were walking from outside. You told me regionally. Who are the voters that you have regionally in the Gulf region as of now?
So we have voters from Qatar, we have voters from the UAE, we have voters from Turkey. We don't have anyone from Saudi Arabia yet, but yet, exactly. But I know that will come, and that will be my mission too, to get voters. And again, we're incredibly hopeful that we are expanding and becoming, even more global than we already are.
And can I ask you, in the selection process, when you're looking for voters, what do you look for, or what makes a candidate stand out for a potential voter?
So we're really looking for very talented international journalists who report on the entertainment media. These folks have to come to us and they have to apply. They go through a process. We look at their work, they submit clippings, they submit, their bio, who they are. They are vetted by our membership board of directors. And our membership board of directors consists of 9 very talented people. In fact, one of our members on the membership board of directors is the managing director of the Red Sea Film Foundation, Shivani Mahota. Yes, so she's on our membership board of directors. She's incredibly helpful, also looking always for diverse talent to come and join us. And so it's an exciting process.
That's wonderful. I'm just putting the message out there because you never know when we can have a Saudi voter who can participate if they're any media entertainment journalists. I think it's a wonderful opportunity to take part in the Golden Globes. Let's talk about milestone moments. This is my favorite part of the interview always. I remember, being a little girl, I grew up in Texas watching the Golden Globes annually, and I remember in 2015 or 2014, Avatar had won for the Best Motion Picture, and I remember that moment so distinctly, sitting in front of the TV, excited in anticipation. I want to ask you, what milestone moments do you remember, or are there any pivotal years or awards that you remember?
Well, the milestones, I think I mentioned some of them already. Barbara Streisand, Omar Sharif, La La Land. Last year, I was very happy we actually introduced a new award last year. As, the awards, I think running an awards body is never easy because, things change, tastes change, and you always have to adapt to what are people watching now? Now, obviously, we know the streaming world has changed, also the awards landscape. And so when we looked at the Golden Globes, we thought what was really missing was an award that speaks to the audience, to the people who actually go to the movie cinema and love to watch these films. And so we introduced a new award, the Cinematic and Box Office Achievement Award. And we gave that out for the first time this year in January, and Barbie won. And that was certainly a film that a lot of people went to see in the theater. And that was an exciting moment. And, I hope that one year, this film can be taken by an international film. It doesn't have to be, a U.S. film. It can be any film that people have really gone to see.
And what does this award consider? You said Barbie won previously, but what are some of the, let's say, the categories underneath that award that qualify you to win it?
Pardon, say that again?
Can you tell us more about that specific award that was given to Barbie?
The cinematic and box office achievement is really an award that measures the box office, so to speak. But also, you know, I mean, because when you really think about it, a lot of the films that get nominated, not everyone necessarily has seen them in the theater. They're a little bit, you know, talked about. But the films that really, like you mentioned, Avatar, rarely, or, you know, some of the other, I mean, Oppenheimer last year was another film that people went to see, you know, and so we wanted to create this award. We've had other awards in the history of the Golden Globes, but they went away too. I believe in the 60s, we started an award that was called the award, the new star of this year. And I think we've had it for about until the 80s. But then, you know, that changed too, because I think in the 80s, talking about adapting and changing, in the 80s, I don't think people, you know, at least celebrities didn't want to be called anymore the new star of the year. Like, you know, so you have to adjust.
I mean, it's a changing landscape, like you said, and it has to evolve every year, similar to what you're doing with the Golden Globes. In terms of, this is just from my curiosity, in terms of acceptance speeches, have there been any historically that have touched you or have stood out since you've been the president of the Golden Globes?
Oh my God, so many. There have been really so many great acceptance speeches, although they're always too long. I'm going to be really honest. We're running an award show, and we're trying to always stick to 3 hours. And our showrunners and producers always get slightly nervous when we have people on stage who talk for, you know, and then they like get off, like, you know. But we've had some really fun speeches. George Clooney is always one of my favorites. He's very funny and of course super charming. We had Oprah gave a great acceptance speech when she won the Cecil B. DeMille Award. You know, Meryl Streep is fantastic. So yeah, there were many.
And one thing we talked about, you mentioned the Women of the Year from the 80s, the Star of the Year, excuse me, from the 80s, and how that's changed. Are there any other categories that you've seen historically be kind of dismantled or removed or changed?
I think we also had maybe a newcomer award at some point. That was long before my time. Like a few awards come and go. I mean, you know, I'm not like, we introduced this Cinematic Box Office Achievement Award now. I mean, I don't know if in 10, 15 years this award will stand the test of time. I think we have to figure that out once we get to that point.
I'm wondering, when you're sitting in these meetings, for example, when you have your photos, when you have the committee, how do you decide whether to keep a category in as you're reviewing annually? What are the considerations that make you think, you know what, this isn't applicable anymore to the society that we live in?
Well, we do look at the awards very carefully, but I think the 27 that we have right now are really very solid ones that have been around for a very, very long time, and they're still very much applicable to all the talent that's out there that's performing. But again, you know, things might change. We don't know what the future of the, you know, maybe there's something else that in cinema will come up or in television that we haven't even thought of yet.
I want to ask you, if we were to look 5 years into the future, where do you envision the Golden Globes evolving? Do you see yourself still being the president, and where do you see it evolving to?
Well, I mean, I love this organization, and I love the awards body. I love what the Golden Globe stands for, so I hope I will be the president for many more years. But of course, you never know. I think I would like to see the organization grow, you know, maybe a little bit bigger. I don't know how big. I don't know really what the magic number is. We're now at 334. I think we could add more people to it. I'd love to see even more diversity than we have. We have now, I mean, we have a voting body that's 60% diverse. I mean, I would love to have a voting body that's 80% diverse. So, you know, and, you know, we have 185 territories. Can we go up to 190 territories? I would love that. So there are always goals.
Yeah, I fully believe it's achievable, honestly, with the way that you're speaking. You speak so passionately about the Golden Globes, so I believe it's completely achievable. I want to ask you about social media. We have so many Saudi filmmakers, and even in the region, that really utilize social media to connect with their viewers, to deliver their messages across. How have you seen the role of social media impact the Golden Globes that we know today?
Oh, tremendously. I mean, social media for us also, even at the Golden Globes itself, the show in January is now, you know, has become so big on social media. We are obviously, you know, it's a great tool for us also to get the message of the Golden Globes out there. This year alone, I think on the day of the show, we had 18 million social media views. Compared to the 10 million viewers on television. So this just shows you the impact social media has, and especially worldwide. I mean, with social media, you can reach, you know, an even larger audience, which is incredible. So there's so much growth there, and you know, we're always now obviously thinking ahead when we think of the broadcast, the way we plan things. Social media is always in the back of our mind.
And even just watching it at home as a viewer, I've seen the red carpet interviews, the style of them evolve through social media, even the way that actors, filmmakers, and producers are approaching, I guess we'll say social media journalists. Have you seen that evolve? Have you seen that change?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you know, we've never had influencers come to the Golden Globes. Now we have, you know, we pay attention to them. We want influencers to attend the Golden Globes because we want them to report and share the message. Maybe also, though, we, you know, have to sometimes be a little bit careful what is portrayed on social media, because, you know, I think it's not always that accurate. So, you know, I think social media is great, but maybe also with a little bit of caution.
I mean, the Golden Globes are known for their prestige. So how do you find that balance between, you know, welcoming new forms of social media, new forms of journalism, and also maintaining that level of prestige that we know the Golden Globes for?
I mean, for us, the show is obviously the most fun award show of the year. And really, when you think about it, it's the first award show out of the year. So everyone is very excited by the time the Globes come around. You had this long campaigning, probably 6 months almost of campaigning for your project, and then the Globes is the first award show out of the year. So, you know, that's what we stand for. We try to make it the most fun. We also try to make it the most elevated show, the most luxurious show. The Globes have gone through a lot of change, not just internally, but also aesthetically, the way we put the show on. We've invested a lot into the show. It's now, I think, I mean, and I've watched a lot of Golden Globe shows. I think now to me, it's the most beautiful show we have now produced. And that's because we really paid a lot of attention to all the small things that make an award show great. And when you come and you attend the Golden Globes, you are in a ballroom, and that ballroom has such an amazing energy, and the way you sit with your peers at tables, it's a lot of fun.
I remember watching it at home, and there were so many celebrity interviews on the red carpet, and consistently all of them kept saying, "This is the most fun award show. We're genuinely just having fun here." So I think that's a reoccurring theme that's been established. Yeah.
I mean, that's the one thing about the Globes as well. Sometimes, you know, we have to remind ourselves that it's an award show. We're not, you know, we can't take ourselves too seriously as well. That's why we also look for, you know, a stand-up comedy, exactly, for a host. I mean, I don't know, you probably know, Nikki Glaser is hosting the Golden Globe show in January this year. She's a stand-up comedian. She's extremely funny, and, you know, I think our most successful shows have also been with the most, you know, funny stand-up comedians, such as Ricky Gervais. He hosted the show 4 times. He was extremely funny. People loved the show. So, yeah, not taking ourselves too seriously is something we do.
It's important. It does create those memorable moments. I remember Ricky Gervais is one of the most memorable hosts of the Golden. You never know what he's going to say. You really don't. What goes into the consideration process for selecting a host for the Golden Globes?
Well, that becomes more difficult every year. Because it's also, it's a difficult task for anyone. Because imagine you are hosting an award show in front of all the most famous celebrities, not just Hollywood, or internationally. So, that person has to be a very brave person to crack all these jokes in front of this audience. So it becomes really hard. Not a lot of people want to do this anymore, because the media also is not very kind to award hosts these days anymore. So we were very lucky to get Nikki Glaser as a host, and I think she's going to be phenomenal. She's very funny, very kind, and I can't wait to see what she will do.
I think she'll be wonderful. You're very generous in your response. I don't think the media is kind at all. You said they're not kind. I think they're much more aggressive than that, coming from a journalist as well. I do want to ask you, I'm getting the signal to get off stage. I think I mistimed our schedule, but that's okay. What do you want your legacy to be for the Golden Globes? Once you decide to move on to a new journey, what would you like that legacy to be?
Well, my legacy, I think, would really want to be that we have grown this into a truly global award show, an awards body with, the most amount of international voters coming from the most amount of countries in comparison to any other award show. I love the fact that our awards body also gives, awards, film and television. It's the only awards body that does both. And I think there's so much potential for television as well in the future. So, I do pride ourselves, and that's just not myself, but I think our group, that we have, we have an incredible strict code of conduct. We have a show that is really run very tight and with a lot of, in a very professional way. And so I'm truly proud that we have created this, and I hope this will continue, for many more years, even if I'm not there anymore.
I believe it will. You've really created the cornerstones for this legacy to continue for years into the future. And I firmly believe that even generations in, when I'm watching the Golden Globes with my grandchildren, we'll watch your legacy and how it evolved. Helen, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
I'm getting the signal to get off stage, so I think we're going to have to. But Helen, thank you again. And please give her a round of applause for her time.
Thank you so much. Thank you.